100. The noes to the left, 175.
That was the vote in favour of the government's marriage same-sex couples bill that took place after a lengthy debate. But over half of Conservative MPs voted against it, leaving the Prime Minister to rely on the votes of Labour and the Liberal Democrats to see it pass. Speaking just after the vote on Sky News, Conservative MP David Burrows gave his response.
It is pretty unprecedented to have so few of the government benches supporting a government bill, whether it's cabinet ministers, law officers, ministers of state and others. That must make us have to reflect on whether we really are all in this together.
So what are opponents like you going to do now?
Well, I'm on the Bill Committee. I'll be scrutinising it line by line and making sure that all the protections the government say are there for religious faith groups and others. But, you know, this is only the first hurdle. Come third reading, I think there could be a whole lot more people who've got concerns.
Also speaking on Sky News, Andrea Williams, Director of Christian Concern, talked about the impact this issue has already had on the Christian community.
Well, as David Burrows actually mentioned there, this is just the first hurdle, and he brought out the reality that there are already cases where people are finding that simply as a result of perhaps speaking out or having a possible conscientious objection to same-sex relationships or the practice of homosexuality, people find themselves actually in trouble with the law. And I run the Christian Legal Centre, and there at any one time we have a number of cases where people have found themselves in trouble with the law.
Earlier in the week, a group of senior local Conservatives delivered a letter to 10 Downing Street urging the Prime Minister to delay a vote on same-sex marriage until after the next general election in 2015. The letter argued that the decision to push the bill through Parliament was made without adequate debate or consultation. One of those who signed the letter was Delyth Miles, chairman of Clacton Conservative Association.
People who voted Conservative at the last election weren't informed in the manifesto of the party that this was going to be brought forward. It was not included in the coalition agreement. So this has been done at a sort of whim. That's the impression I and others get.
Also ahead of a vote, leading think tank Res Publica launched a green paper in Parliament called Marriage, Union for the Future or Contract of the Present, opposing the proposed legislation. Director of Res Publica, Philip Blond, who co-wrote the paper, along with Professor Roger Scruton, said they wanted to highlight how the institution of marriage was under threat.
What's wrong with same-sex marriage, ignoring the argument for the moment about that, is that actually it's part of the definition or the cultural change that's actually eroding marriage. Because what it's based on is this partnership model that says it's just between you and me and it's nothing to do with anything else. And it's that we feel most threatens marriage.
So how are Christian leaders responding to this vote in Parliament? We spoke to Jonathan Oluyede, pastor of the City Chapel Church in London and convener of the National Day of Prayer.
When leaders begin to move structural pillars that hold up a society, they are threatening to pull down the whole building. And it's a grave thing that has happened in Parliament. The one key thing that we need to do as a church is to stand in the gap and ask God for mercy, because a major spiritual pillar is being moved by our leaders.